up before. The working link for
Yeah.
John, I just posted that we'll.
All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals and whatever else might be lurking out in the darkness. This is the Pink Buzz. We are back, and we are back with the bang. We have two of the best, biggest names in horror comedy rocking the stage with us right now. Why don't you fellas introduce yourselves?
First one, thanks for that lovely intro video. I like how you ended on that sweet picture of like me and Joe warmly embracing. It was nice. My name is John Lees. I am a horror writer or writer of other stuff, but mostly horror. Based out of Glasgow, Scotland, as you might be able to tell. I'm best known for Sink and Hotell. And other books I've done include And Then Emily Was Gone, The Crimson Cage, Mountainhead, Oxymoron, Lovelace Nightmare, and The Standard. And I currently have upcoming The Nasty from Vault Comics coming early next year, and a little book called The Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde, which we'll be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Joe Mulvey. That's it. I'm cutting it quick. I don't have the whole intro. I'm best known for my Murder, She Wrote fan erotica. And that's pretty much.
I'd actually read
That's
that.
how I know you.
Yeah.
That sounds good, actually.
The Adventures of Angela Felcher. It's a good. It's a good thing to read into. But no, I'm the artist on a new book with John called The Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde. Which might as well be called the Bible Part 2 because it's just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we hit that book this week. We read it. You guys sent us a copy so we could discuss it here today. And you know, when I was putting together the intro, I saw a lot of pictures of you guys together at the cons, like the pictures I put at the end of the intro, and I saw a lot of parallels between kind of like the vibe I got from your friendship from those pictures and the two main protagonists from this book. Like, it's definitely a buddy kind of like two best friends, and kind of how in life we move on and grow apart and stuff like that. And I kind of got those vibes from the pictures when I was going to stalk you guys on Facebook to get those pictures.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's weird because like I've said to Joe, like I had references in mind for these characters, like when I was originally like coming up with like you know like Ben Pillar and Eli Pryde, and the references I'd had in my head, and I was like fantasy casting this. I think it was like the guy who plays like Chide from The Good Place, as I imagined like Ben Pillar, and imagine like the pro wrestler Eddie Kingston is like Eli. But then when we started actually writing it and working on it together, the characters just became like me and Joe essentially. The one when I wrote it, I think like, and I just had like it was so helpful having Joe's voice in my head, and I was writing like Eli's lines,
Well, for people who have not seen the book yet, Ben Pillar is a tall, thin, I would say a very educated-looking person with glasses, and he's got a lot of nerves, and he's very considerate, and he has a lot of feelings and emotions about stuff going on around him. And Eli Pryde is more of an emotional wrecking ball where he cares nothing of what people think, and he does everything abrasively and pretty much it's instinctual. Like there's no thought in his process. And I don't think there's a single mutual or friend that we have shown this to that are like, so John just wrote a buddy book about you guys doing, like,
yeah.
I was like, and then when he's like, the guy wears a hockey jersey, I can't tell you. John and I first met at New York Comic Con many years ago in person, and I'm a diehard New York Rangers fan, as I have my hat on, 1-1 in the preseason, and I put on the jersey to go actually from the con to the season opener of the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, which is just a few blocks down from the Javits Convention Center where New York Comic Con is. And so many people were stopping me and they're like, who are you? Who are you dressed up as? Who are I'm like, I'm just a pissed off New Yorker.
I'm dressed up as a winner.
I'm trying to get to the game. And
well,
not
for the last 5 years, though.
I'm telling you, art imitates life in the greatest way in this book.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely got those vibes. Like it comes off big time. That like this totally felt like it was a book, kind of maybe not directly based on your friendship, but definitely influenced by your friendship big time. And there's one aspect about the character that you forgot to mention before is that he's a nervous shitter.
He's a nervous shitter.
Yeah. Very, very important. I'm hoping that comes into play later on in the story.
Just like and he explodes with passion later on. It's quite funny because like when Joe read the script and said the first page is like someone doing a shit and he's like, that book was meant for me, you know.
Well, I can't tell you how many times we've been behind a convention table or booth, and John and I are literally, and I mean all across the country, like everywhere, and just doubled over in tears, laughing so hard at different like ridiculous stories, like, and it's just like when he started the book off like that, I was like, this is picture perfect, picture perfect. I want the marketing to have like AfterShock nervous shitters, like that's the fan club of the people who have
the nervous shitters.
Yeah.
That can be our fan group, our fan community.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that too.
Yeah, I think me and Joe are bonded, you know, by like, you know, our, like our shit experiences. Or like Joe, every year Joe has some new like shit related story. Like when I actually just started telling his shit stories to other people, like my friend Joe, this happened to him. And meanwhile, I like whenever I'm like planning my hotel like location for like a convention, one of the first considerations is it needs to be close enough I can go to a shit and come back again. without missing too much.
And I'm a savage. I'll do it anywhere. I don't care. I've been booed in public bathrooms.
I used to be a very shy pooper, but man, my trip to New York cured that real fast.
Now you just do it in the street, howling at passers.
Listen,
barking like a
Howard
dog.
the Moon, you're just part of a tourist trap now. There's nothing wrong with it. When were you in New York?
Oh, long time ago. In probably over 20 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, before the towers came down. So I think I was there a year or two before.
So wow, way over 20. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, now we have different laws here. So defecating in the street, completely legal, not a problem. So just go for it. That's what we're gonna. That's how we're gonna. You know, people say like we're gonna kickstart the book tour. We're calling it a shit start. That's what
Nice.
I've seen those. It's obviously been a few years since I've been to New York. But like when I was last there, I remember the inspirational posters. You know, anywhere's a toilet if you put your mind to it.
we got to fit that in the book.
But yeah, like I was saying, it's definitely a story about friendship and how we grow older. We kind of maybe the catalyst of an event that maybe makes people grow apart. And right from the beginning, it's just the first issue. So you see that he has a girlfriend, and it's not revealed how much influence she has on him, like taking a new job, moving on, moving away. But you see that, I don't know if that's going to come back into play later or what, but in the beginning, you see she's definitely, there's a tension there. Yeah. With the girlfriend, like your classic kind of two buddies, and the girlfriend's always there, kind of refereeing.
The Yoko Ono.
Yeah, exactly. Split up the band. Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting because, like, you know, I don't want to give too much away of like where the book's going, but I definitely like, you know, there's definitely that trope of like, oh, the pals are getting on great until like, you know, the girl comes along and ruins everything. Yeah. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of like do something a bit different with the character. So hopefully, like, you know, as you read on, you'll see like, you know, there's a bit more to her than like, you know that kind of particular trope. But at this point, maybe it's best just for reference in case anyone doesn't know, or this is the first time they're hearing about Power and Pride. I should maybe like explain like what the general like premise of the plot of it is. But like the last ride of Power and Pride is, this is the bit where I explain the book in my thick Scottish accent. No one understands what I said. So like, so after this, like Joe can explain it. But like the last ride of Power and Pride is about these two friends, Ben Pillar, Eli Pryde, as eloquently explained their characters and personalities by Joe earlier on. And they first became friends when they were young kids, and they had this really dramatic, formative experience. But Joe's just so disgusted at my explanation, he's just left the chat. We had this this really kind of formative experience in childhood when like they were unlikely heroes and did this incredible thing and faced this evil and overcame it. And that's kind of bonded them for life. And all through into adulthood, they've been best friends. And they've kind of forged it. At first, they had kind of a little bit of a career, kind of cashing in on their brief fame, like writing young adult adventure books, like starring fictionalized versions of themselves as like kid detectives and adventurers. But that's kind of been on the wane now. Like their careers kind of dwindling, they're kind of like drifting apart. And so they go on this road trip, and like Eli thinks it's a chance for them to kind of get new inspiration and kind of renew their friendship and renew their professional aspirations. Ben sees it as this is time to say goodbye, and we're going to do one last road trip before we go our separate ways. And when they get back to their old hometown, they find that there's strange things going on there, and there's possible links to their past, and things get increasingly crazy from there.
Yeah, like on the last page there, that's where
with the yoga.
It's
Dude,
fun
was it just me, or did that guy remind you of Marvel Spank, Joe? Like that's what I thought when I saw.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he did remind a little bit. Yeah,
for sure. Honestly, that's a happy accident. But John Lees actually owns the yoga pants that character is wearing in the last.
So there's like a shady kind of yoga retreat in the woods, which kind of links into the mystery. So the main character has like these colourful yoga pants which look something like that.
Oh wow!
They're definitely loud. They're definitely loud.
Man, wear those to a Fine Young Cannibals concert, man. Like
John will be wearing those pants at every signing of this book.
Yeah, I'm going to be working on growing my hair out and growing a beard, and then when it comes to the bit, I'll just come onto the stage like namaste.
I get to wear a very comfortable hockey jersey. You get to wear 1990s circa Full House yoga pants.
That's our personalities, like just in a nutshell. Like Joe's a comfy hockey jersey guy. I'm like a 90s psychedelic yoga pants.
Everything with John is skin tight. It's quite obnoxious.
I've seen it.
Even my t-shirts a little bit nipple, so.
And your little shorts when you dress up as that character, Jason character.
I'm thinking my next business card's going to say like the best thighs in comics, so.
Yeah.
John Lees, horror writer, best thighs in comics, and ass that just won't quit.
But what is the story behind that? The gym teacher Jason thing there, the red.
That was actually based on a comic series by Janie Lee. Called Camp Counselor Jason, where she she reimagines like Jason's this kind of like wholesome figure who's protecting the kids of Camp Crystal Lake the way he was protected rather than being a killer, and they're great and they're really fun. So that was the story behind that.
Yeah, I remember you posting those. That was pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping that was the chair. I'm hoping that was the chair.
Yeah, Joe's got a squeaky chair.
Yeah, I have an old wooden, like an old antique desk with the old wooden chairs. So
very nice.
Johnny hates it. He's like, the other day we were talking, he's like, you still got that fucking chair, man? I was like, yeah, man, sorry. So, like, you guys finally get to work together. I read your newsletter, and you're like, and you made a few posts saying how much you enjoy working. Now you guys get to work together, and you've been friends for a while, and it's been a great experience or whatever. I've seen you post a few things about it, and I just like the way you guys have evolved from like that gang, because you guys often work with the same people, like from the Comics Tribe gang.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rich, Alex, like you guys have done many projects together for Comics Tribe. And I mean, all the books you guys are putting out and working together and everything has just been top notch. Like everything, like Joe, you worked on Happy Hill with Rich.
Yep.
And Wailing Blade as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wailing Blade. Yeah. I have that here. The hardcover with the die cut. It's awesome. Yeah, and like all your stuff, and it's. I've noticed now you guys are starting to. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but you're putting out more stuff with AfterShock.
Yeah, like, we ended up working on, like, you think, like, it's quite weird, it's quite funny when you're in comics long enough and you're like, you have like the peers, like, that you kind of started at the same time as. It's really interesting seeing, like, the way we all kind of like seem to go, like, in the same directions at the same time. Like, I think me and Alex, like I was saying, like, we started working on, like, IDW around the same time
Yeah.
in different books. Like, we've been working together in sync, for years. And Alex did Row the Bones the same time I was doing Mountainhead. And then, like, with this, the way this has worked out, like, Rich just did a book with AfterShock. He did The Ocean Will Take Us, which was great. And then, like, me and Joe are doing, like, and like you say, like, I think it's quite fun because I'm a big wrestling fan, has been established by all, like, my Crimson Cage book and promo and stuff. I'm familiar with, like, the 1990s. You had, like, these, like, 4 Japanese wrestlers who were called the 4 Pillars of Heaven. And I like to think of, like, me, the nickname I'm trying to get going, like, for me, Joe Mulvey, Alex Cormack, and Rich Duick is the 4 Pillars of Hell. Because, we're like, we're like, I want to try and make a, like, horror brand with us. And, like, we all kind of do different combinations. And I love how depending on the pair, and it each brings a different quality. Like, whenever you put Joe and Rich together, you have this big bombastic, action-packed, dramatic, full of excitement and energy. This really cool, like, dynamic, really kinetic. Then if you put Rich and Alex together, it's really, like, fucking, dark and scary, like, and really psychological, and, like, scarier than anything I do. I think Rich's stuff with Alex is particularly dark and really, like, quite creepy. And then obviously whenever me and Alex get together, it's like just crazed violence, like, kind of, horror, but with a kind of that dash of fun in it as well, like, and kind of madness and hysteria. So I've been really keen to see, like, well, that's all the other combinations. So what's me and Joe going to be? What's our energy going to be when we come together? And then on top of that, like you mentioned, like, I've known Joe for over a decade now, 12 years I've known Joe. And, like, for most of that time, we've been talking about, we need to get together and do a book together at some point. And it's just never worked out. The stars have never aligned until now. So, yeah, I'm really excited to kind of get to actually work with Joe and, like, get to work on something together.
Did, like, the pandemic kind of influence that? Like, did it give you extra time, like, with things shutting down, that you both had more time that you could actually tackle this project together? Or did that have any influence on it? Or
no, I think it was after the pandemic, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very much post-pandemic. Like, essentially, like, if you ask any creator, probably, like, when everyone says, "Oh, the pandemic must have been great," like, you got so much work done. What actually happened for a lot of people is everybody that had stuff in development or, like, getting pitched all just stopped. Like, books that was like, books that were in production, it was like pencils down, we found out what's happening. Like, books that I was pitching, like, the publishers would be like, I'll get back to you next year, or we're not taking anything new right now because everything's in the air. So, like, everything just shut down, like, so then it was like, so that 2020 was, like, really stressful in a lot of ways. So, like, everything was in limbo. In 2021, it was just like, now we can, now things are, now the floodgates are opening. And yeah, like, I've been in conversation with AfterShock for quite a long time. I know the guys over there, like, Mike Martz and Ryan Carroll and, like, all the editorial team and stuff. So we've been in conversation for a while, and they were like, through much of 2021, it was like, we want to work with you. So, like, pitch us something. So I pitched them an idea, and they'd be like, oh, that's not quite what we're looking for. Like, have you got anything else? So I was pitching them a few things. And finally, the one that really kind of jumped out was The Last Ride of Power and Pryde. And then, so once you saw that, like, what kind of artists we thinking of for it? And weirdly enough, like, I hadn't considered Joe at first because I thought Joe was busy doing Happy Hill, and I thought, well, Joe's going to be it. So I just wrote him out in my head thinking, oh, Joe's busy with that. But then just within the same day that they'd messaged me saying, what artist would you like? Joe, you messaged me and you were saying, like, I've just finished Happy Hill. Should we talk about maybe working on something together? And then it was just like, it's this, and I didn't really have a clear idea of who the artist would be for the book. But the second you said that, it was like this kind of chemical reaction. I was like, Joe has to do this book. I can't imagine anyone else doing this now. The whole vibe and energy, like, it was like missing something until I thought of, like, Joe drawing it. That kind of, like, humor in the heart that comes in, like, that kind of balances out the darkness. Like, that energy Joe brings, like, and I thought this, like, he has to do this book. And it actually, if I send him this pitch and Joe's like, no, actually, I don't want to do this, I would be like really gutted, like, I'd be like, oh, I'm just canceling the book now because and then now I can only think of Joe doing it.
Well, his artwork brings like a real sense of fun to the book. I mean, you look at it and you know it's just going to be a blast just by the way the characters are drawn and stuff. I mean, I kind of like when you get that kind of vibe right away from looking at a book that you're like, okay, this is going to be horror, but it's going to be really fun too, really cute.
Yeah.
I think
Love
that's
those stuff.
literally the way my style is. Even though I think the best art review I've ever gotten is someone saying that this book looks like Humberto Ramos drew it with his foot.
What?
That's
Oh,
not
yeah,
nice.
Dude, it was hysterical. I wanted the publisher to put that on the book jacket of the collection. I was like, that's like the funniest review of whatever. But no, I think that's like what I try to bring to the books is like, you want to have a vacation from cover to cover. You want to be in a different place. You want to be completely immersed. And, you know, the characters are going to be emotive and the world is going to be interactive. And, you know, if I do my job right, you're going to really, really, you know, want to pay double for the second issue if you can have it right then. Like that's, to me, that's like the pull of comics. Like I put down I read that last page, I put down the book and I'm like, oh man, I want to know what's happening next right now. And John does all of the good things with the story. So I could only accentuate that or completely screw it up with the art. So hopefully I don't screw it up too bad, but Doug Garbark is our colorist and he is saving my butt on every panel. He is awesome. Sean Lee is lettering it and making all the design and all the pages flow together so good. Mike Martz, Christina Harrington, all great editors helping us along the way. So I think it's genuinely a very special book about friendship, horror, action, mystery. I don't think there's anything else out there like it on the stands, and I'm really excited for people to check it out.
Yeah, the first issue itself, it's a really nice setup. I liked how you guys really kind of just introduce everything, but don't give us too much. I mean, because we get a look at the killer, but we don't even know what he's about. He might even be a good guy, the masked person in this, because he like gives the phone back and stuff. So I really, really enjoyed what I got, and yeah, like you said, like I want that second issue right now.
But dude, let me tell you something. To John's credit, as a phenomenal writer as he is, this book, every single issue completely changes everything to where you're like, oh, I got this. Oh, I know what's, oh, I kind of see, right? We can't help it. We see so many stories between all the streaming services, all the books we've read in the past, video games, this, you start to like preemptively see in your head where you think a story is going to go. And oh my God, can I tell you, you have no clue. Every issue, I'm telling you, you're going to have a whole new theory of, oh, here's where it's going. And it's going to be completely out of control. And I even told this to John. I'm like, I didn't, when I'm drawing the issues, I'm wrapping up 3 now. When I'm drawing the issues, I only read the issues for that, the script for that issue.
For that specific issue. Okay.
Right,
Yeah,
because
so
I want
I
it,
just
because
added-
You don't want it to influence you knowing the story. So you're
100%.
just, yeah. So it
Just to jump in there a wee second, I see Cole's Comic
Yeah.
Flames question there. The book isn't out yet. It's available for pre-order now. But it is in shops on 9th of November. So you still have a chance to pre-order it.
Yeah, it was in the previews for September previews. It was listed in the solicits.
Yeah.
So definitely your shop should still be able to pre-order it.
Yep.
No problem.
The final order cut-off is 17th of October, so you've still got a couple of weeks to get your orders in.
I mean, like, this has been a great year. Look at how much John Lee's we've got, man. We got Hotell, we got Crimson Cage, we got Dig, and now we got Pillar and Pryde. I mean, bam! At least the comics industry has finally opened their eyes and realized that, like, we need to give this guy more work, and I appreciate it.
And then next year, you're going to have the Nasty.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm really excited about it.
Wrap up Pillar and Pryde in a trade. You're going to have maybe more. I don't know. I mean, I do know stuff, but I don't want to say anything. There's going to be a lot more John Lees for hopefully many years to come.
You're stuck with me.
So, John, when you found out Joe was going to be the artist on this, when he confirmed yes, did you like race back to the script and change a few things, knowing he was like? Did that influence the story at all? Did you make some tweaks or some small changes to it?
The first thing, I think I'd already did it in the first issue, I think, because I used to drafted the first. Because I seem to remember sending something to you, Joe. Like I'm not sure if it was like to see to get your opinion on it, to see if it was something you were interested in doing. But definitely, as I've kept on writing, I think like it always helps knowing the artist that's going to be drawing the book. That informs like, you know, how you write something. Like I was like, when I was writing like things, I was writing thinking like, oh, Joe's going to be really good at drawing this. Like there's a sequence in the start of issue 3. It's like a fight sequence. And normally, again, I don't want to give too much away of the story, but normally you just write a fight sequence and it would be like, you know, fight each other, blah, blah, blah. But because I know, one, Joe's really great at visual comedy, and two, he's great at putting like lots of wee details in, I decided the fight sequence takes place in a really cramped like camper van. And it's like, so like the killer comes in, like, you know, and it's like someone throws like grabs something and throws it at the killer, and it's like a roll of toilet paper that bounces off their head, and then they take a knife and they go like this and it sticks in the top, and they're like, you know, and it's just all these little wee beats, and Joe just nails it. And I was writing that thinking Joe's gonna kill this when, you know, he draws it, you know, and just like I can always imagine just Joe's faces when I'm writing like acting scenes and like expressions I know he's gonna nail. So it definitely helps a lot when you know the artist is going to be doing the thing.
Well, I'm going to say this. I appreciate the confidence John has in me to bring that script to life. But I do notice that both he and my other sometimes collaborator, Rich Duick, what they like to do is they give Alex Cormack a book of like guy in a fox mask in a completely black alleyway with no background. And then if you read Road of Bones, it was guy walking tundra, all white behind him, no background. And then I get Rich's script, and it's like, 20,000 people fill an arena. I'm like, what? I'm like, what?
I heard when Joe read that script for Wailing Blade, he was like, Rich Duick, how about Rich Don't
I said it. I'm like, and then all of a sudden, John doesn't even say how many panels are on the page. It just says 10 plus panels on this page, and I'm like, come on, John. Don't do this
It's just the especially the utmost confidence we have in your immense talent, Joe.
Look at this. My ass is properly buttered. Thank you, sir. Now, I will say though, like also to people who are thinking of picking up the series, the great thing about John as a writer is I think, and I don't.
My ass getting buttered now.
There you go. Spread the cheeks and get the jam. I think the best thing John does is like it's almost like just what all good writers do is like a good wave of you get suspense, you get, you know, the suspense keeps amping up in the actual main plot. The character development keeps going to where you're starting to feel really bad or good for one of the other characters. And then he hits you with, you know, the horror, the action elements. And all together, it comes out as like this delicious, you know, pie of entertainment that's got a delicious interior, crispy crust, and makes you want to eat the whole pie every single time you dig into it. So I think that like with this book, it really is John just nailing comedy, nailing horror, nailing action. And I think these are two characters, you know, in Pillar and Pryde that you're going to really want to, you know, go along for the ride with. Like they're very, very, just in the first 5 pages of every book, you get another little sense of their characters that make you like them more, make you more entrenched and invested in their stories. And it's a real credit to John's writing.
Yeah, that's one thing I tried to do. Like,
well, you
as
did.
Well as the
you don't have to go on about it. You did.
Yeah, just let me expand on my brilliance, Joe. No, not talking about like my genius, but just in terms of general what we're trying to do with the story is, as well as the main story, the kind of mystery about what's going on in this town, like in Tarragon Falls, like what's happening here, what's the strange things going on. You also have in each issue a kind of like second strand of the narrative, which is the past of Pillar and Pryde. Like the first issue, you see them as kids. Then by the second issue, you see them in high school. Then like in the third issue, you see them as like young men, like in their 20s. So like as well as telling the story of like what's this mystery, the series is telling the story of their friendship and how they gradually came apart, like, you know, and what is at the crux of like what is driving them and what's driving them in opposite directions. So I remember like when I was actually pitching this book, like AfterShock, when they were sort of like talking about what they wanted to see, they were saying like, you know, like we like to have our horror, like, you know, be rooted in like human emotion and things like that, you know, people find scary in today's society, etc. And I was thinking about like, you know, what scares me, you know, and like, you know, it's like the idea of like, you know, like that your friends, like, you know, aren't always going to be your friends, or you're not going to always be the same person, that like, you know, time moves on. And like that kind of like sadness, like, you know, but that just sometimes happens. And like I remember like this, I'm going to go a bit of a tangent, but I watched I remember the last time I watched Stand By Me. I've always loved Stand By Me. But the last time I watched it, maybe a couple of years ago, I was just hit with this real intense melancholy of like, yeah, I had friends when I was a kid, but I never had friends like as intense as that, like, and I'm never going to now, probably, like, and there's something quite sad about that, like, you just realize as you get older, like, you change, you don't get as become as close to people, and like, so that was just something in my head, like, I want to, so yeah, the horror stuff's fun, like, and like exciting, but I think you need to have, as well as having horror, you need to have the human dimension, that core of a story. You need to take time to really kind of like, because nothing's going to be scary if you don't care about the people that the scary stuff's happening to. So it was really important, like, to me and important to Joe as well and the rest of the team, that these characters really feel real and really feel developed. And I think they're two of my favourite characters I've ever written. And hopefully that you guys will love them as well.
Yeah, you really touch on that in that first issue, that scene where they're in their bunks. And he's like, "You're cool. The rest of the people are jerks, but you're really cool." Where they get that first connection when they meet, and when you do the backstory of them as kids at the camp, like it really resonates. Like anyone when growing up, like if you're not part of the cool kids in this, your friendships you do build with. Like if you're not a popular kid, right, you don't have a million friends or a million people want to be friends with you. So those bonds you build with your friends are so much closer and tighter. And you really get the feeling of that in this book. And you did a fantastic job with portraying that for sure.
Thank you.
Well, wait till it goes on, because it gets even. I mean, I don't want to say like heart wrenching, but like I think it's pretty dang close. And also the fun thing is like I'm just thinking now as we go through the story, you think these characters are in peril all along the way, and it's like you're like, oh, I don't know how it can get worse than that, and then John's like, nah, hold my tea, hold on, let's touch it. I'm gonna get it much worse than that. Like it's just really, it's a really good book. It really is.
Joe touched on this before, but like what we wanted to do is that when you read it, when you read issue 1, you had. Sorry, I was just distracted by that genuinely massive cup of tea that Joe just picked up.
It's huge. You like it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're really small. If that cup's really big.
No, it's my phone is doing a little bit of a thing, but it is pretty big. And by the way, tea, this is coffee.
Yeah, whiskey. I know, but like, you don't know. When you read issue 1, you have no idea where this book's going to be by issue 3, and when reading issue 3, you have no idea where this book's going to be by issue 5. We really want to keep on like pulling the rug out from under people, which makes it quite hard to pitch because the book takes such like mad turns. Like, it's always hard to explain. You're going to just have to go like, just trust us. But this book will take you on a ride, a last ride even.
But nice. I like the way you explain how each issue it progresses. Like now they'll be in high school, and it progresses, because then it gives you a backstory and adds weight to what's happening in the present. And I like the way you say it goes till the two stories meet, like probably in the final issue where there's no more backstory because you're living it now, right? And I think that's a great idea. It's a wonderful way to tell the backstory so that it's connected and adds weight to what's happening to them presently. And,
well, if we do our job,
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait to read the other ones now. It just adds layers, right? Like anything, it just adds more substance, more weight, more. Yeah, it's.
And really, the really fun thing is, I really think, except for a few crass, dirty words here and there, it really is a book that anyone can read. Because I think the medium. Last time I read this, and this might not be factual, but the medium comic book reader is 32 years old, right? So let's say 32 years old is the medium. Well, then this is definitely going to relate to you, because I guarantee you the friends you made in camp as a kid or in high school, or like you said, wherever you made them in your neighborhood, you grow up and you don't have them maybe anymore. And then like you go through a little mental thing of like, maybe there's a reason I didn't have them. I don't think there's a reason like the reasons of Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde. But even if you're not, then, John gives you all the exposition in these stories, and I try to draw it in a way that's very welcoming so that you can see, even if you're a kid or a teenager picking up the book, and you can go through this thing of like, yeah, I've been on the outside. I don't care. Even the cool kids, they don't feel cool all the time. Maybe there's one kid.
Well, like you say, the ones who peaked in high school, right? Then when they get to adulthood, maybe it's a different story for them. But like you said, if you touch on different aspects of their past, like you said, someone might connect with one of those stories going through. Like maybe not when they're kids, but in high school, you're giving them different stages where someone might connect with it, even though, you know, they didn't connect with the story when they were kids, but when they're in high school, maybe the story you tell there hits with someone. So
and even though it's not in the preview pages, there's kind of like you know, a trio. It's not just Eli and Ben. There's also Anna. Anna is another childhood friend that she met, and she grew up and she decided, I'm going to be like a crime podcaster, detective, and all this kind of thing. And she's in there. And I mean, these are really just genuinely fun characters. The world is awesome. And I mean, like, I don't care if you've never read a comic before, pick this book up. If you like Edgar Wright movies, pick this book up, and I will give you your money back if you don't like it, because it's that good of a story. And by the way, this is not contractual, but my point is, like, you know, sometimes
the door.
I think this is a book that a lot of people are going to want to check out. I think it's very accessible, and I think every single first page and last page are inviting, to where I'm telling you, I've drawn the last page of the third issue now, and I'm like, oh, that was a good one. Like, you know, and I thought I nailed it with the second one. I'm like, oh, you're not going to get better than the second issue last page. And I'm like, nope, there you go. So, I mean, it's top-notch comic booking, if that's something.
I think, you know, like Joe touched on something there when he was talking about, like, you know, like it reminds of like Edgar Wright movies and stuff. That was definitely something we talked about in terms of like the Cornetto, you know, trilogy. Like, there's elements of Shaun the Dead in there, there's elements of Hot Fuzz, there's elements of The World's End. But also, I think what really kind of like, you know, what it was a kind of happy accident, like in the development of the story, is it really feels like it's tapping into that kind of like cozy murder vibe and a lot of stuff right now. Like it feels a lot like Knives Out. It feels a lot like
Only Murders in the
Building. Yeah, like in terms of like there's, you know, like there's like fun and there's banter, but there's also dead bodies showing up, like, you know, and so yeah, hopefully if you like any of that stuff as well, like, you know, I think this might be the book that is for you.
And also, Joe draws some of the most gnarly, giant masked, bladed people I've ever seen in comics. I mean, from Wailing Blade to Happy Hill to like whatever the character's name is in Pillar and Pride. I mean,
don't forget Scam.
Oh yeah,
there's a masked bad guy. I tell you, if this was the 1990s and action figures were at their peak, we would already be like a Joe Mulvey collection of like action figures of all your various masked menaces.
Can I tell you something? When I read John's description of the character, I did like. We can tell your listeners there is a looks like a villain. It's a villain in the book that let's just say they have the. I'll just talk about the design of it. The design, I melded a human and a vulture skull together. And I kind of.
That was silent. That was
right in the middle.
Yeah. I hope he realizes that he's out the chat and he's not going to be like, you know, giving this elaborate story. And he's like, and that's what happened. And that's the source of my inspiration, my deepest secrets that I revealed to you all. And he looks and he realizes there's nobody there. But to kind of, I'll let Joe take over when he comes back. But to kind of like fill in for him a wee bit, we did have some. Like, I think Joe added so much to this because I had the description of like the bird skull and stuff as a mask. But in my head, I was thinking of the design. I said, like, make it something like Scream, just give him like big robes. But then, here's Joe. He can say better than me. I'll let him take over.
No, I'm sorry, you guys. I must have dropped out. So when I was designing this, I mean, I came up with like this just crazy design that I was like, this is, I don't even know why. I think I saw like a jacket that Liberace wore one time, and I was just like, because like John was just saying, like he had him in like a black cloak and black
cloak, yeah.
And even with like to talk about like the way I look at character design, like I just want it to be stand out and unique. I'm not saying you have to love it, but you'll always recognize it whenever you see it. And I mean,
what I always say whenever I've talked to like Alex in the past, and I think I've said the same to you, is I love costumes to be cosplayable, but nothing's generic. Everything feels like you see that person, you immediately know that's that character.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big fan of making something like stand out.
God's sake. Joe's not having any luck. But yeah, no, so like to kind of expand on that, he's very, like Joe is very big on like, making everything feel unique and feel like, not just like generic. And I would have been happy for just drawing him like, a ghost face cloak, essentially, like black coat. But instead, Joe gave him this ornate, like if you see the design, if I'd been thinking that was more on the ball, could have given you some character sketch stuff you could have shared here. But he gives the character this kind of like ribbed, kind of super textured, like, tunic with all these different like lines and patterns on it. And like, I swear he must have given himself such a headache, so now he has to draw that every single time he puts this
with a pattern. Yeah,
I bet you, like he's halfway through issue 3 now. I bet you now he's thinking, I wish I'd just given him a black coat,
Yeah.
But it does pay off because like this cat, especially when Doug Garbart's colors come into the mix, like, it just like that character, there we go there, like that character just like leaps off the page, like, it feels like textured and layered, and it has depth and it adds depth and texture. Sorry, Joe's back now.
No, you keep going, because for some reason all of a sudden my internet is like going wonky. I only live in New York City. It's not like, like we have a lot
Glasgow. I'm able to connect.
I know, I'm only in Queens, New York. It's not like that's it.
Blame the hurricane, it's fine.
Yeah, but I like you say, I love the design with like the vulture kind of. It gives off a vibe similar to like back in medieval times or whatever, when the plague, those people that wear the plague masks, it kind of has that bird like, like a plague doctor. It kind of with like the long elongated nose that curls. It kind of gives that old vibe to it. Like it gives it an old time vibe. Like.
And then, like, if you look at the, the picture you just showed, he has like or she, I don't want to say who it is, has a tight zip up like jacket that just has these feathers all over it, like in this weird pattern. And I'm pretty sure, I think I just saw like a Liberace exhibit, and I saw that jacket, and I was like, that is it. Like, I've never seen a Liberace serial killer before. Like, what would that look like?
Yeah. Well, you see, you blame a lot of it on John making you draw these weird things, but he gave you something simple to draw, and then you went through this jacket with a crazy pattern on it. So I mean,
it's because of expectations, right? You think that now he expects all that detail and everything.
Listen, when I designed,
I know he's a glutton for punishment, which is why I give him what he wants. It's like I said, that's like a relationship.
This is our S&M relationship that we have.
yeah.
But when I drew the design for the head taker in Wailing Blade, the greatest thing was all the artists we had doing variant covers were like, you can go screw yourself on that character design. That took me forever to draw. And I was like, yeah, but it looks rad when you draw it. And then they're like, it does. But it takes us a year. I was like, oh, come on, it's awesome.
But you see it, and you're like, even the way you designed the woodsman in Happy Hill, like you see, you have so much fun when you're given a task to like, right, this is the main antagonist, and you have just a knack for making it look cool, impressive, intimidating, even like the woodsman with like the horns coming out and stuff, with the goggles, and it's definitely like. And like the furred collar, it's just cool. Like, you definitely have a knack for putting really, really impressive, cool, like you said, just cool looking characters that jump off the page, right? That you just want to get a poster and hang it on your wall. It's fantastic.
I appreciate all that. My art is as subtle as my personality, and I am what is the word? There's a comic book writer, Brian Edward Hill. And years ago, we worked together in the studio, and he used to say I was like obnoxiously optimistic. He's like, aggressively optimistic. He's like, you are just the most positive person I've ever met. And I'm like, I kind of want to do that in my, like, I'm not going to go whimpering into a page and be like, oh, I'm going to make the guy a little bit chubby with a little, no. If he's a little chubby, he's 700 pounds. If he's a little muscular, he's,
ripped.
Competing for the Olympia. I want like my comics to be big, brash, bold, leave very little to discern. I think there's an art technique where you want the silhouette to be able to be recognizable from anywhere. And I think we do that really well. And to the character of Bird in Pillar and Pryde, with anything, the more I got the chance to draw the character, the better I think I got with it. So like you'll see the cover of the 3rd issue pretty soon, and that like is the next step in comfortability. And then 4 is going to just be bonkers. It's going to be bonkers bird issue. But yeah,
4 or 5?
cool.
Is it 4 or 5 issues?
It's 5 issues.
5 issues. Okay.
Yes.
A 5-act tragedy in the Shakespearean vein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Joe.
Yes.
Has the 5th issue of Happy Hill come out yet?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah. No. It hasn't wrapped yet. But it should be like with paper supply issues and all that other stuff.
Okay.
I mean, it's all done as far as I know. It's just
Yeah. So
So
that's just gotta be, that'll come out. I hope if you've read the first 4, I hope it's a real good ending. It's definitely, I don't think something you're gonna see.
Because I was going through it's on my pull, so I was going through my box and I was like, oh, I have issue 3 and 4 here. I've already read 1 and 2, so it's in another one. I was like, oh, I don't see 5. So I was wondering, yeah. Okay, I was just making sure the shop didn't screw up.
well, they haven't did the Kickstarter yet, so
I'm pretty sure. Comics Tribe has said the year.
Which is another great thing. Comics Tribe, man. Like now they found a printer in the US. So now I can get all the Comics Tribe stuff through the previews, which is awesome. Because before I'd have to order it, and like shipping rates now have gone berserk. So I mean, I think it's just wonderful that Comics Tribe. It just makes it so much easier to get all your books, which is like, that's the way I got Wailing Blade. I saw the hardcover solicited in the preview, so I ordered it then. And yeah.
Dude, they're a really good company. They're a really, Tyler, who runs it, knows everything on the ins and outs. He's a Kickstarter guru, and look, like he gave me my first chance. He gave John his first chance. I don't think it was Rich his first chance, but like Alex, like, he's got a really good eye for talent as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're always going to love Comics Tribe. Like, I still think of us as like, the Comics Tribe guy, and wherever else we go, we're going to take a little bit of Comics Tribe with us.
Well, not too much, because he's also a Cowboys fan. I can't tell that. I judge people purely on the sports teams they root for. That's what I do. That's how I am as a human.
Meanwhile, my sports discourse knowledge extends to how about them Yankees, and that's about it.
That's not true. We did go. You're talking about longtime friends. We've known each other for 12 years. How many other people have you gone to a wrestling kaiju event with?
Yeah. Me. When I was visiting, actually outside the convention season, I visited New York and New Jersey for like WrestleMania weekend back in 2019, and it was like, so yeah, it was part of that. I went to a show, Kaiju Big Battle in Queens with Joe, which is essentially like they set up in the wrestling ring lots of like little wee buildings, like little mini skyscrapers, and then the wrestlers dress up as kaijus and they stomp in the buildings as they fight each other. It was absolutely insane.
Sounds a killer.
I'm telling you right now, it was one of the weirdest experiences to have a Scottish guy to the right of you screaming while a man dressed as a potato beats up a man dressed as a skyscraper. And I was sitting there, stone sober, going, "What is going on in my life?"
So I've gone to a strange place here.
And to Tyler's credit, Tyler James, the editor, chief owner, and operator of Comics Tribe, has said for years he wanted to do a reality TV show where John and I work on a book. I go live in Scotland for 3 months. He comes back here and lives in New York for 3 months. Yeah. And there's a camera crew following us constantly.
Yeah, the plan was going to be it would start at Glasgow Comic-Con in June. And then we would do a road trip to New York, enter the New York Comic-Con in October.
That would be awesome, actually. Kickstart that shit, man. Get it funded. Kickstart it.
Well, we're going if last ride, the Pillar and Pryde is a big massive hit, we'll do the transatlantic journey of Lees and Mulvey.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
It's guaranteed to be good. I'm telling you right now. Ask anyone that knows me. There's like a magnet in me. Something odd happens all the time.
Yeah.
You just gotta roll with it.
Yeah. I think it works because like Joe's like a magnet for like drama and craziness, and I'm like a magnet for cringe. So it feels like it's like great bit of blend of chemistry there.
Yeah. I'd like to touch on Joe because
We all
your
want to
art.
touch on Joe.
Yeah, man.
We got some Joe on Joe action going on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'd like that. Just removed from the record, and I'd like that as my phone ring from now on. I'd like to touch a Joe. I'd like to touch a Joe.
Because a lot of your work I noticed early on was when you did covers. You did a lot of covers for a lot of different books, and then the first time I really got to see a lot of your interiors was when you worked on Wailing Blade. And then you came out with Happy Hill, which is still issue 5's to be released, and now Pillar. So, man, you got some pretty consistent work coming out now. Like you're pretty goddamn busy these days. It's nice to see.
I just like telling stories, man, and I like telling better stories. And like I love doing covers, but it's not the same as like doing the inside of a book. Doing the inside of a book, you get to take people on a full roller coaster. Whereas doing covers, you take the ticket to get them on the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I both are awesome. I love drawing covers because you get to take a story and distill it down to a single image. And if you make it look cool enough, hopefully it'll sell. But like the story is like, I want you to remember that face, for the sake of Pillar and Pryde, when Ben is really, really emotionally or physically hurt, and I want you to have a picture in your head of that the bird character with his tattered cape flowing in the wind and blood all over his hands and all this stuff. Like, you just have more chances to really give an effective story telling the interiors. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. I love making them. So I hope to be able to have many chances to make more, and especially with John.
Do you have anything else lined up after Pillar and Pryde, Joe?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay.
But I was going to say that's an interesting thing you bring up, Joe, about the kind of the difference between a cover and actual book. I mean, because I think like that without going too much into details, like issue 2 is a real great kind of demonstration of that, because you have the cover, you have this striking image of bird, and then you have a variation of that scene inside the book, and I think it's some of the best creepy visual storytelling I've seen, because without going into too much detail of what happens, it's like a couple sitting in their house, and they just rather than a jump scare or like that, the way Joe draws it, it's they look over and they just see birds just walking through their garden, and just walking closer and and opening the door and coming in, and and the way it's all framed is just so creepy because it's so unusual, and Joe just knocks it out of the park. And then that's the kind of thing that you don't get to do in a cover, because it takes more than a single image. You need that time to let that kind of percolate. And I think Joe just nails it.
Well, I'm just gonna say the number 2 cover, colored by Doug Garbark, is tremendous. It sells. Again, I'm taking one little note from the story and trying to play it up for the sake of getting people to pick up the book off the stands and flip through it. But the way he colored it, the way he colors the whole series, really is a testament to another mood of the book. The way, because I have a very open line art style, which is kind of changing. I'm starting to get a little darker and grittier, but still I like my stuff not to be too messy. I like a cleaner art style. Some of my influences is Humberto Ramos, with his hands though, not his feet. And
if you don't know how he draws with his feet, maybe it would be a big influence.
And the way he accentuates it, because if I have a bad colorist, I'll be sunk. But I've been blessed. Chris Sotomayor has colored a lot of my other stuff in the past. He's a genuine certified legend and genius. And Doug is just spectacular, because he plays with every little bit of lighting and nuance, and really his colors accentuate every facial expression I'm trying to make. And there's no characters in this book that ever have a slack-jawed face. Every single character has emotion the whole time. Disgust, anger, being tired, confused, everyone, and he nails it with the coloring.
Yeah, big kudos to Doug, big time. I mean, I worked with Doug before on Mountainhead, and that was kind of gave me a real show of how great Doug is, because I worked with Ryan Lee on Mountainhead, the artist, and Ryan Lee is an incredible artist. He's a genius. But his stuff is so detailed and so textured that and so rich in kind of little intricacies that if he doesn't have a colorist that's going to keep up with them, he'll just eat them up. He needs to have someone that can keep up with them. And Doug, really just rose to that challenge and like really kind of like enhanced all those little details, like, you know, and really like, you know, brought out the most in Rich's art and in Ryan's artwork. And so I was really excited to see what he'd do with Joe's stuff, because Joe talks about how his stuff's quite open and plain, but I think Joe's stuff's deceptively detailed in terms of the amount of stuff he puts in, the scenes,
especially
and stuff.
Like the scene where the I guess we'll call him the antagonist, where he falls off the cliff, and you get that nice shot where you see the bottom.
The Hans Gruber shot, I called it in the script.
Yeah, and I think those are Converse, right? The pattern, the bottom of the shoe.
Yes, sir.
Those are Converse, right? Yeah, I dug that. I was like, yeah, he's wearing Converse, man. That's awesome.
I just had the shoes to my right in my office closet. I was like, here we go. Let's
that was awesome.
Shoes
I
to the
caught
right
that
of me,
really.
you know, drawings to the left. Your arm.
But see, like it's I don't know if it's like artistic OCD, but it's like the guys, just the artists that I like, that I check out their stuff. The styles vary, but no matter what, they put you in a zone. Like, yeah, I could have gone the easy way and just blacked out the bottom of the foot, right? Like you still would have gotten the story, but you wouldn't have had that little extra bit of detail. I was raised on like Jim Lee Hush and like, you know, like the bottom of those boots are like legendary, the way he did the bottom of Batman's boots. And like, you know, anything I get to make a character stand out and be more visually, you know, I mean, there's nothing more visual on that character than John Lee's yoga pants. Let's be honest. But like all those little things add up, and, you know, it makes you feel like you have a more fully fleshed out story. And the artist in me appreciates that you appreciated all the rivets on the bottom of the shoes.
Yeah, man. Like right away on that scene, that's the first thing I was like, oh, bam, he's wearing Converse. Like right away, I caught it. Like, because I like Converse anyway, so I noticed that right away. So
we have
great.
There's some Asics later on, because I had a pair of Asics when I was looking at something.
Yeah, no, great
so,
stuff. Like I said, Joe and Doug are great together, just fantastic.
So Joe just likes to draw comics so he can draw his extensive shoe collection, his sneaker collection that he has in his closet. Like, John, you got to write more scenes with fucking close-ups on the shoes, man.
It's like you're working with the Tarantino of comics.
Get the beat in there, baby.
John and I are going to announce our new book, Rubber Soul.
And Joe's like, you know, you bring the rubber, I'll bring the soul.
People just come at us, they throw sneakers.
So now, okay, I got another question for Joe. You've worked with, it's the first time you're working with John, so how does it differ working from John and, let's say, other writers? Like you earlier you said, oh, he just wrote a page and just be like, just 10 panels or more, you know, like you deal with it now. So like how is it working with John compared to, let's say, Rich or any other writers you've worked with?
I've been really lucky. Like I've worked with a bunch of writers. Nothing's been announced yet. So there's other stuff with, you know, writers that I've done that's really cool too. But every writer is different, obviously, just like every artist is different. But I feel like the good ones kind of, they have two approaches. One where the story is just so good that you're enwrapped in it. And like for myself as an artist, I start to see it. So like I get John's script, I'll print it out or I'll pull it up on my iPad and I'll just sit there and read it over once, over twice, till I start like seeing scenes pop through in my head. And then, you know, go to layouts and all that kind of stuff. And then around like the second or third issue, you start getting this feeling for the character as well. So now I know how Ben.
Yeah, you get into a rhythm.
Yes, where I just know how the characters walk into a room. So like, you know, how their shoulders act, who's more confident, who's a little more impish, and that just all helps out in the story. But I think writing wise, John and Rich both write to my strengths.
Okay.
And they kind of, you know, let me run a little bit, and then, to the credit of AfterShock Comics, like Mike Martz, Christina Harrington, Teddy Leo, every time we've had a question where John and I are like not sure about something, they pop in, they chime in immediately, kind of, you know, if we're going off the road, they veer us back on the path and, you know, give us like, what's the best storytelling? What's the best, you know, way to deliver this note or this beat? And it was great. So as good as the writer, I mean, I have no bad writers yet. You know what I mean? I've never written with anyone that I would say I didn't like the way they wrote. Like from the scripts I've worked off of, I've been pretty fortunate so far. Except for when I write my own stuff, because I'm a jerk. The writer in me, if you guys have read Happy Hill, when I said, oh, okay, double page spread, 3-point perspective of a sprawling estate that has slides shooting up and out of the hills and through the buildings and I'm like, and then as I sit to draw it, I'm like, what a moron you are.
Who wrote that shit?
What a real bucket of jerk sauce you are, Mulvey.
So we touched on some of your past projects. So I know that Johnny wanted to talk to John about something specific. And
we've
both
done some Joe times Joe. Now let's do some John times John.
Yeah. So we both backed the Dig Kickstarter. Yeah. So we got
Thank
that, and and we read it. And I know Johnny wanted to talk to you about it, touch on it a little bit. We both loved it, but we love Sync, so we've already talked about that the last time you're on. So I don't know what you want to touch on, Johnny, but
I just wanted to tell him, like, yeah, it's probably the best comic I read all year. I just love how. I mean, at first I was a little bummed out to how short it was going to be because, I mean, like 70 pages is good, but at the same time, I always want more. But I don't think it would have been any better if it was longer. I think it was just beautiful, and I love Ghoster. I didn't think you could come up with any more cool characters, but the Ghoster was just I liked it.
He was a lot of fun to write, so I'm glad you enjoyed him.
And I like that you left it open so that he might be able to come back because they kind of hinted at Psy having some supernatural powers, so like that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, like we've got obviously like with Psy, it's kind of a bit of an enigma. Like I've definitely got more plans of finding out more about who Psy is and what he's up to and what his agenda is and what he's doing exactly. That's going to be coming up in upcoming issues. So if you're a fan of like that corner of like Sync Hill, watch this space.
Nice.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys both actually just had birthdays too. I kind of wanted to say happy birthday to both of you as well.
Well, thank you very much. I was like, it's like one of the I always enjoy my birthday, like not just because like get cake or whatever, like but it's always nice when people remember you, like and I always enjoy all the nice messages I get. It's all appreciated. So thank you very much for all the kind thoughts.
Yeah, man, it's much appreciated. But I just want to wax back one more time on John. I feel like Sync is like, to me, almost it's timeless. Like I think that is like a Sin City murder book, like a hell book. Like it's just like a universe you want to go into. And I mean, you immediately, it's kind of like if you're working out, or you're playing a sport. Once you get sweaty, you're like, all right, I'm in this. And I feel like when you open up Sync Hill, you go from like
the sweat stripping off the pages.
A page or two until you're in the filth of Sync Hill, and then you're loving it. You're like, I just got to get through this. Like, I can't say enough good things about him. However, publicly, I could say a lot of bad things about Alex Cormack, that Vermontonian artist who draws that book, but I won't. Because us New Yorkers are known for being gentle, quiet, and shy on others.
Yeah. But I also love Dig, and I thought it gave off, like, I don't know if it was your intent, but the whole time I was reading it, it felt like the way I wish Batman was now at DC. Like, it just gave off big time Batman vibes for me. Like the main villain, it kind of echoes back to like the Joker origin with the red helmet. He has the red mask. I saw so many like little, and how he's obsessed with Dig. Like it becomes his obsession, and it's kind of like Batman and the Joker, how the Joker's obsessed, like that toxic relationship that they can't exist one without the other, but it's so toxic, right? And I don't know, I just saw
because like Ghost, like this is a little bit of like behind the curtain here, but like the development of Ghost was a little bit of a happy accident, because as originally written, when I was first outlining the story and I was planning it, Ghoster was going to be like a silent killer machine. He was going to be like the Terminator, essentially. He just wouldn't talk. He was always just going to be like this kind of like always chasing, always pursuing. And then I was actually when I was writing the hospital scene, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I just had him like talk, and then I kind of like came up with his personality on the fly, and then this is actually really fun. Like you're expecting to be a silent guy, and he's actually super chatty, and then I kind of like started developing his personality out of that, like as I was writing it.
But it's funny because now that you mention it, it almost seems like a joke where how they're saying he doesn't talk, and he's like, no, I only talk when You know, like at first you think he's silent, and all of a sudden he doesn't shut up.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning he doesn't say shit, then he's like monologuing like crazy after.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But man, I dug it. It was well.
No pun
No
intended.
Yeah, but it was really, really good. Like,
Oh, thank you
let's
very
just
much.
let's just imagine a world where John Lees, and it's gonna eventually happen because I believe in good things.
Yeah,
John Lees writes a story in Gotham. It's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be like you could see it. You know, there's no shortage of talent to work at Big Two, but like John would just be absolutely stellar on a book like that, or even like, you know, take it to the counterpart at Marvel, like just let him get a down and dirty and gritty Daredevil story where you can really like make Hell's Kitchen a genuine Hell's Kitchen, you know,
or
written by
even
Like full of vendors in the streets, you know, like
or even the Punisher. Like,
oh
the
yeah,
Punisher
absolutely.
would be good too. Like, because there's a lot of scenes in there that definitely lent a little bit towards the Punisher too, like brutal, like the Punisher, like it should
Anything
be brutal.
involving Dig Shovel is very Punisher-esque, man.
Yeah,
Dig and
like,
the Shovel are just brutal.
Yeah,
no,
it's good.
Yeah,
And it's-
I always have a lot of fun thinking of different things I can do with the shovel. Like, you know, I enjoyed the kind of like finger chopping that happened, and you know, like, but you know, like in terms of like, you know, Big Two stuff and all that, like the thing I always say is like, yeah, that obviously that'd be a lot of fun. Like, you know, I'm a big Batman fan as a reader. Like, you know, like I love Daredevil as a reader and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't like to put all my eggs in that basket. Like I wouldn't have to opinion if I never get that opportunity. I want to still be able to say that I was happy with the career in comics that I had, the stuff that I've done. You know, and I'm really proud, like, you know, of like Sink and like all these other books that I've done, and Last Ride the Power and Pryde. Oh, finger chopping makes me cringe. Yeah, that was like a really fun scene tonight. I just like, and the funny thing is, I think I described it as something like he brings like the shovel down. I think I'd said like it chops off like, you know, a finger or something and just breaks a couple of fingers. But Alex is like, no, I'm going to town with this.
Yeah.
And I'm having every finger come off apart from like the pinky, and they're all just flying in all directions. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, thanks. Like, and I really appreciate the kind words about the book. I say it was like something they were really excited to do, because obviously, like before Dig came out, like it's been a couple of years since we'd had a Sink story, and like in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, what happens if nobody cares anymore? What if they've all just moved on and they're not interested in Sink? So the real outpouring and the support we got, you know, for that was like really gratifying to know that people still care and are still interested. And yeah, no, like, you know, it was really kind of like cool to see that. So hopefully there'll be more Sink coming soon, and the gap won't be as long as it was between the volume 2 and Dig.
But like Joe said, I don't think you'll have a worry with you don't have to worry about people not like too long they'll miss it, because it's so damn good that as soon as you even hear a whisper of something coming, you get excited, because like it's a page turner. Like Joe said, you start reading it and you can't stop. It's so damn good.
Well, I don't know when volume 3 is coming, but I'll say that, like, you know, me and Alex were talking about volume 3 just today, so watch this space.
Well, you guys got a couple issues for it done, right?
Yeah, well, you know, like I say, we want to make sure we have plenty banked before, like, you know, we even start, like, you know, soliciting it to make sure it can all come out, like, you know, when it does. But the problem, I think we're kind of being the victims of our own success, both of us, because like Alex is highly in demand and I've been doing a bunch of stuff. So just a case of making sure all our ducks in a row that we can get it all done up. But I will say, like, you know, if you're a fan of Alex, maybe watch this space for New York Comic Con. I heard there's a couple of cool announcements happening, so I can't say any more than that. But,
Okay.
You know, there's some cool stuff coming.
And I'll say this: if I see Alex Cormack at New York Comic Con, you better have that guy, because it's gonna get rough.
When is New York Comic Con again?
Oh, Joe left that as soon as you mentioned Comic Con.
Yeah.
Before I let him come back, so I'll answer this question down here. Speaking of page turners, oh my god, the Crimson Cage was stupid, incredible. I loved it so much, especially the street portrait. Yeah. Thank you very much. As I've said before, the Crimson Cage is a book that's very close to my heart. Like it's something like that I wanted to do for the longest time. It was like a dream project of mine. And the fact that I'm still kind of in disbelief that the fact that I got to do it. And yeah, so like I'm really proud of that book, and every time someone says something nice about it, it makes me happy. So thanks. As far as New York goes, I won't be there this year, but Joe will, so I'm sure he will tell a little bit about his New York Comic Con plans.
Yeah, come on down. We're gonna be in Artist Alley, myself and writer Big Dick Rich Dewick. We're gonna be Big Dick Dewick is gonna be down at Artist Alley
Oh, you got to get yourself a T-shirt with that written on it, man.
Hey, but
Wear
no,
it- wear it all
Like
weekend.
doings on
Wear-
the
wear it all weekend.
I'm gonna have hashtag nervous shitters all over the front. That's it. That's what we're doing. That's the Pillar and Pryde fans.
There you go. That's good. That one that's
Yeah.
good too. That's a winner as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's the subject of nervous shitters, Joe. I think at one point in this chat you have to say the word sphincter just so people get an idea of how Eli will say it when he says it in issue 1.
Yeah.
The tight sphincter, but
Yeah, there we go.
yeah.
So when you read the book and Eli starts talking about sphincters, just keep that voice in your head.
Well, I had someone reach out about like doing a signing, and they were like, "Oh, we want," and then instead of spelling Lees and Mulvey, they spent Les and Mulvey. And I go, "You want Les Mulvey? Then why are you even asking me to go?" Like, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I spelled the name wrong." I'm like, "Yeah," and plus he's in Scotland, you can't afford him.
But if someone wants to fly me out, you can.
Yeah. So, Hotell. Is there anything in the works for a third volume? For a third arc?
I would very much like to do a third volume. Me and Dalibor have like had chats about like where the story would go next. I've like roughly plotted out like what the next set of issues would be, but it's very much just like a case the same way it was before ahead of volume 2. That when volume 1 ended, it's going to depend on like the readers. I think right now AW are just looking like what are the sales like, what's the response like, and then like before they make the next step. And so yeah, like if you like I said ahead of volume 2, like if you want more Hotell, like spread the word, pick up the book and get on social media, tag us, tag AWA, be a nuisance and tell them you want more Hotell.
Is the trade out for the second
volume 2?
Yeah.
TPB came out in the start of July, I believe.
Okay.
And yeah, it's available. You can get it at your local comic shop. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at AWA's online store. You can order it from my online store, johnleescomics.bigcartel.com. And yep, so it's available all over.
I also noticed that like you kind of kicked off a trend of wrestling comics. You got any anything else involving wrestling in the pipeline?
Again, like I think I can probably say it since it's not happened. I've been developing like at one point I was developing like a Hamlet adaptation in the setting of a wrestling thing, but then I saw like a Hamlet adaptation has just came out, like not a wrestling one, but and so I thought no, I can't do that. But I have got a couple of other ideas, like, and I would love to do like an expanded and extended universe of Shakespearean wrestling adaptations.
You could do like King Lear kind of with the Von Erich tribe, you know what I mean, type of thing.
I was thinking like, if I was ever going to do this isn't something I'm planning to do anytime soon, because like as much as I love Akira Kurosawa's Ran, like I fucking hate King Lear as a play. It's so but if I was ever eventually going to do that one, then what I would do would be King Lear, but with Vince McMahon and his shitty children, like
okay,
he would have like so it's like it'd be like kind of like modern day kind of like WWE style kind of corporate empire, and you have like the Vince McMahon figure like retiring and like and dividing up his empire, so he'd go off to like the Raw show, like to go to see one son, then he'd go see like the SmackDown show to see his other child, and I would do something along those lines. But as I say, that's not something I plan on doing anytime soon, because I'd have to get to grips with how the hell I'd do a King Lear story that I didn't hate.
Joe, Happy Hill.
Yes.
You've wrapped it up. Issue 5 should be coming out soon. I know Comics Tribe likes to do the hardcovers. Is there a plan to do a collected edition in hardcover? Or is it still too early?
No, that's definitely going to happen. And if you see the way that Comics Tribe does one-shots or hardcovers, they always try to go all out and make like the coolest package possible.
Die cuts and foil on the lettering and stuff. Yeah, beautiful.
I'll probably have to double dip on that then. If it's a hardcover. I love the hardcovers. So
yeah, we've had conversations about what to do with it, because the way the book ends, I don't know if I want that directly tied into the ideas we have on what to do material-wise for the covers. But like when I pitched the book originally, I was like, it's The Shining meets Willy Wonka.
Okay. 1 second, guys.
Yeah. And thank God, now we can talk about him. He is relentless. He doesn't stop with the proliferate comics work and the positivity. He's just the best. But yeah, no. So like, Comics Tribe will be, they're gonna. The way they like to do it is, I think, like they kickstart, they direct market, and then they move to trade. So for the people who like to collect the issues, the 5th one will come out, hopefully end of year, and then beginning of next, we'll wrap it up with a really nice collected edition and see where it goes from there.
Nice. Looking forward to that then.
I appreciate it, guys.
I have the singles, but what I do is often I'll get the hardcover, and then space is limited, right? So when you start collecting floppies, after a while the office starts to get a mess when you have too many floppies. So I'll probably unload the floppies and just stick with the hardcover and keep that. It's much easier to read too. You can just pull it off the shelf and you have the whole thing there. It's nice to have. Yeah.
And what we started doing with Comics Tribe hardcovers is that so we try to give you, like with Wailing Blade, we try to give you a tight story that's like the 5 or 6 issues, whatever it was, and then when you move to trade, we do give like a prologue scene, or an epilogue, right? So they'll
have a little bit of bonus in it.
Yes, correct.
Materials.
So the bonus that's in the hardcover is not going to be in the 5th issue.
Nice. So people get a little incentive to go pick up the collected
hardcover. Yeah. We do that. Plus, we always try to like, it ups the page count, costs a little bit more with paper, but we try to like say a sincere thank you to people who kickstarted, went to shops that had variants and signings and everything that it takes to help like make a successful comic launch and get people in the shops to buy it. I've actually gotten the most flack that I've gotten in my comics career so far from Happy Hill, because if you've read number 4, I asked the question, how many 5-year-olds could you beat up? And in that, a lot of people got really, not a lot, but more people than I'm used to.
One of our co-hosts, Ghost, he says that he could beat up how many 7-year-olds is it?
I think he said 12.
Yeah, he could beat up like 12
that's a fair number.
So that's someone who's never seen a Glasgow 7-year-old. Those are they'll eat you alive.
Listen, I've had this conversation, unfortunately, many times over the years. And when you really start thinking about it, like the conversation in the book is a conversation I've had in real life. The character Thea Ripley in Happy Hill, the guy says, I could take like 250. And she goes, 250? She goes, you were out of breath parking a golf cart. How do you think you can beat up 250 kids? And I got a buddy who said that too. He's like, easy to. You literally got.
Oh, he's back. I was quick.
No. There. Yeah.
I'm good.
He's quick now. He's got it down.
Yeah. I have the router up my ass. I got to make sure that I have it like right back here now. So that nothing happens.
Just clenches his butt cheeks and puts them back on.
Hashtag never sugar.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna have to have me back on and talk to this guy Gus about his battle plan.
Oh yeah, Goose, yeah. But why? I don't understand why people would get upset about that.
Look, people find reasons to get upset at anything. It takes a lot to get me upset, so I don't care. Like I said, I take it all in good stride.
It's obvious you're being facetious. So why do people get all upset? I mean,
it's just hypothetical, anyways. I mean, it's
Look, I mean, like there's also not a flower that makes you forget, but that's in the story too. But at the same time, like there's a little bit of leeway with the conversation.
Yeah, I guess people just have too much free time, right? They should just get out and do stuff.
And I'm not better for answering it because they're like, "You're promoting violence against children." I said, "Always."
For some reason, that just reminds me of like, have you ever seen that movie, The Kid Detective?
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's this amazing scene in that, but it's like Adam Brody plays this like washed up, like he was a former child detective, now he's an adult, like and he's like in purgatory, solving like like these humdrum cases while he deals with drug addiction and stuff. There's one point where he's walking past this school and these little kids are sitting in the wall and like they shout insults at him and he just turns down and lays one out with a right hook and just punches them off like the wall. And it's just so funny because you're not expecting this grown man to just beat up this kid, and it's weirdly satisfying.
I can tell it's funny because I understood like 2/3 of the final sentence that you had to
Oh shit.
I got a quick question for Joe. The sword in Wailing Blade, man. How did you design that, and how did you come up with the crooked handle? That is just so cool. I love that design. I've always wondered, like, where did that come from?
So here's what it was. Like, kind of like what I was saying again before. Sorry, my printer's going off. So, yeah, there it is right there. So what it was Rich gave me all these options for swords. Like, gave me like, he just wanted it to be a big imposing sword. And then it was like Excalibur and some Dungeons and Dragons stuff or like Frazetta stuff. And I just kept like drawing a sword and I was like, it's just a generic sword. There's nothing super special about it. There's nothing super whatever. And I just started going, well, I don't ever see one that's not straight, like where the handle's like this, and then it always comes up straight. I'm like, what if it was tilted so it was more like a sickle when you use it? And then, if we get back to the universe where we have that was legitimately the character design. That image right there is when I sent it to them, and then he was like, "You got it." Like I must have done at least 25, 30 different sword designs, and I didn't like it. And then when I realized I could tilt it a little bit and make it like, and by the way, there's other functions to the sword. Maybe the sword turns into a gun.
That's
Maybe
not a butt cheek thing.
He relaxed a little bit.
I had to, and then I got it. But so I appreciate it, man, because I really put in the work to make it the most unique sword out there.
Yeah, because usually when you see giant swords like that, they look like the Berserk sword or they look like the Final Fantasy sword. But like this one, it doesn't look like anything that I've seen before.
Yep, that's 100% what I wanted to do. And then if you read the series, there's 7 weapons. So in the series, we introduced the axe.
Yeah,
because
when you put it sideways, it definitely has a gun vibe to it. The way the handle's made.
It's got like gun sword almost.
Okay, spoiler for your show. It also acts like a gun, but that's for another time. I just want stuff to be cool and different. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's definitely visually this book, man. Like, it's great. Like the sci-fi side, like mixed in with like that old.
Well, the head taker's mask, man.
It's got a nice mix of. Well, I mean, people that dig like Final Fantasy like that, I wouldn't call it cyberpunk, but it definitely has like kind of like that fantasy sci-fi mix to it, which is pretty cool. And you nailed the look of it. It's fantastic visually.
And Chris Sotomayor adds like 12 different awesome layers with his colors on that, because he just like made every page and background sing. And like that's another really good example of like collaboration. Like there's a scene where a character named Cletus is peeing outside a bar, and like I just had this idea to put an inset of like a weird alien type flower, and then it looks like it's raining on the flower, and then you pull back and it's just this guy peeing on the flower.
Like, I mean, just look at that page.
Yeah.
If that doesn't sell you on the book, I don't know what. I'm sorry, you just don't have a pulse. I mean,
it's awesome book.
It's sick.
Look, we aim to please, and then we're gonna make a Think and Wailing Blade crossover.
Oh yeah,
called Wailing Hill.
And then if it doesn't work out, you can just make it a Wailing Blade Happy Hill crossover. Can you keep the same title?
Well, but you know what? If you're an AfterShock fan, I'm putting a lot of like other AfterShock Easter eggs in the book. So like, if you've read Bunny Mask.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so check out number 2. You're gonna see a little something in there of Bunny Mask, and then like I forget the other ones, but like
Maniac in New York, probably.
Maniac in New York, thank you. That the mask of that is in the scene in number 3. So it's just like fun little Easter egg things to throw around to kind of play in the Shock universe.
So AfterShock, how does all that work? Like it's you guys own the IP?
Yeah.
Or like, so you had to reach out to who writes Bunny Mask again?
Paul Tobin.
Tobin. Like, you have to reach out directly to them, or is it through AfterShock, or how does that work if you want to put, let's say, little Easter eggs in it like that?
We had a scene where like in starting to work with AfterShock, I had seen that like something was like optioned, and I think it was Bunny Mask.
Okay.
Might have been, I think it was Bunny Mask. And I wrote to the editors and I said, hey, we have a scene where there's a couple just sitting on the couch vegging out watching Netflix, or a Netflix like streaming service, and I think it'd just be a fun little nod to the fans to put the Bunny Mask on like the main screen on the TV.
Well,
And
if I had a mask killer, I would ask Joe to draw it. Period, man. Just to see what it would look like coming out
listen,
of
that's
him.
my name, buddy. Mask Mulvey. Like master of the masks. But it's also fun, like when you get to have that, like, not that it's, I know they're all creator-owned books and there is no shared universe technically, but it's just kind of fun to, you know, have a little throwback. And then in one case you could be like, that looks really, really cool, and then I wonder what that is, let me check it out. And that's, you know, sometimes it just takes that little nudge to get someone else to check out another cool book.
That's cool. So people should keep their eyes out for little Easter eggs from other AfterShock books.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like I say, and it's like it's like lots of cool wee details, not just Easter eggs, but just like always we're looking in the backgrounds in Joe Jersey just feels like lots of little wee sight gags and visual details and puns, and so I think you'll definitely get a lot out of reading the book closely.
Cool.
He's right. Because I just want to make more work for myself. I'm like, okay, what little joke can I throw in the back of this that 3 people in the entire country will understand?
Do you do it and not tell John and see if he picks it up, or do you let him know right away?
If it's someone else's IP in the company, I don't want to be that disrespectful. I want to kind of run it up the flagpole and see if it's okay for me to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, like in other cases, it's like, you know, like for some reason there's like a plunger in the back of a sleeper van. Like there's no reason for a plunger to be there, but you know. And then in an action scene in issue 3, like, you know, things are exploding, this is going on, and then there's just Mr. Diggs' shovel off to the side. You know, like
okay.
I don't know, little fun things.
Yeah, no, it's fun. But yeah, like, to be honest, like, just again, like, bring it all full circle, like, and you know, this is kind of going back to like the start when we're talking. Like, for me, one of the greatest joys you can have making comics is just getting to get together with your pals and make cool shit. And like, you know, and for me, like, that's like what Pillar and Pryde is. It's like, you know, pairing up with one of my best friends in comics, one of the coolest people in comics, Joe, and just vibing together. And like, you know, this is what we come up with when we're working together and getting to experiment and play. And that's just the magic of comic making, the magic of collaboration. And we've had a blast making it, and I hope everybody that reads it will have a blast reading it as well.
Well, first, off to a great start with that first issue, so I don't think you'll have a problem getting readers to jump on.
Yep, so as to reiterate, Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde in stores November 9th, and it is available for pre-order now. So if you've heard this chat and you've thought, would you like you know, to find out more, like, you know, or you'd like to read it, get to your local comic shop and say that you want the Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde pre-ordered and put in your pull list. And if you can do that, it makes a difference, so please do. Oh, I just noticed there's a question down below me. Quick question, I think the pen just dropped. Is this the same John Lees who wrote Ninja Turtles about 5 years ago? Yes, that was me. I did an issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universe with Nick Pitara, and we got to introduce the character of Worm into the TMNU Comics universe, which was a lot of fun. TMNU, TMNT. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. You guys want to plug socials where people can follow you? And
yes, I am on Twitter at JohnLees927. I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/John Lees, where I post essays every week. I post like original short stories every month. I post I share script excerpts. I do a bi-weekly feature, or is it bi-weekly if it's twice a week? I do a feature twice a week, which is like sharing like a page-by-page behind-the-scenes breakdown of Sync, going through each page and giving commentary of each page, a whole bunch of content. So if you like what you hear from me here, check that out. I also have a weekly newsletter, which you can get at deepender.johnleescomics.com. That's deep-ender.johnleescomics.com. You'll get a weekly newsletter plus a whole bunch of free comics. And well, so yeah, my online shop, johnleescomics.bigcartel.com.
When is Thought Bubble?
Thought Bubble is
in
November. It is the second week in November.
Are you going to that this year?
I am going to that. That's my one convention that I'm doing this year. That is on, I believe, the 12th and 13th of November at the Harrogate Convention Centre. It's always such a fun show. Alex Cormack, artist of Sync, and Joe's nemesis, is going to be coming over. It's going to be our first convention together in a good few years. One of Alex's only UK appearances. I think it's maybe a first ever UK convention appearance. So
Nice.
please come along if you're at all in the UK and you're looking for a great show to come to. Please come and say hello.
Awesome.
And I'm just I'm at Twitter at Nervous Shitters, and if you want to. Just Joe Mulvey, Joemulv. I couldn't get the full Joe Mulvey because the full Joe Mulvey is someone who likes to put up pictures of the fish he catches. That's not me, not a fisherman whatsoever. So just Joe Mulvey on all on Instagram, on Facebook, on everything.
And you're going to be at Comic-Con New York, right? Coming up?
Yes, sir. Yep. Artist Alley, table E22.
Draw your favorite masked killer while you're there.
Look, we're gonna see a lot of people, and we're gonna have like a great little bunch of people. I think there's so many cool people around us. There's gonna be a great show. I guarantee you, if you come by the table, I'm gonna have some original art there from Pillar and Pryde. You can come check it out. You can come talk. As you can see, we're pretty good at doing. So come on down, have some laughs. We always have candy. Get some candy. Have a good time. Talk some comics. Or talk sports. Whatever you want to do. Come have fun.
Do you have any other conventions planned between now and the Christmas that
I was gonna? I might. Baltimore is still like up in the air.
Okay.
But then I was gonna try to do Thought Bubble with John earlier, and I did get accepted. But I was like, that is a because it's so close to Thanksgiving too.
Okay. Yeah.
Kids and well, not so little anymore, but still little kids that they don't drive. They're only 10 and under, so it's hard to be too far away from.
You should reconsider, Joe, because at the rate that the pound's collapsing right now, you'll be able to just come over with like $500 and like 10 grand or something.
I might buy your house. That would be great.
So that's cool. So you'll be at New York and possibly Baltimore. So if people want to go check you out, they could pop in Baltimore if you end up going. So that's cool, man.
Please do, and I want responses from you guys after you've read every issue coming out. I want to hear what you guys think.
Will do.
Hell yeah. But
that goes
that
to
was
everybody listening as well. When you read the issues, tag us on Twitter and let us know what you think. Unless you think it's shit, then don't say anything. But if you like it, give us compliments.
I'd really go look up if I could get either Humberto Ramos's foot or Nervous Shitters as a Twitter handle right now.
At the very least, you can put in your bio.
Yeah. So I guess you could wrap it up on that. You guys plug your socials. You're going to be hitting some cons that people could go check you out, buy some art from Joe because he's a great artist, and go sign up to John's Patreon where you can get the behind the scenes Sink Hill goodness. So yeah, man, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure. Love having you on.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
So then don't make it the last time. Let's do a monthly show. We'll catch up with everybody. We'll do one on Friday nights. We'll sit here with some drinks.
If you're ready to commit, we're ready to commit.
Yeah, I mean, you used to be on Comics Creator Club. That's how I first met you. You were on with Melissa and my buddy Jake West back in the day all the time, and that's how I became a huge fan of yours, Joe. So yeah, if you want to have a setup like that again, you're welcome to hop on with us anytime. I'll kick you the
my friend,
StreamYard
I'm
link.
the opposite of shy. I love to talk. So yeah, let me know whenever you guys want me.
Yeah, I've always said, Pink Buzz, yours guys, is my favourite shows to guest on. You always shoot as well. You always make the effort to really kind of do your homework and rub away the creators. It's really appreciated. So I was glad to come on. This is actually our first interview we've done on the promo trail for Pillar and Pryde, and I'm glad it was this one that's got us off to a great start. So thanks again for having us on.
I think
no problem.
We should do another one, and I agree with John. Thank you guys very much. But I think we should do another show where it's just John Lee's and Joe Mulvey hijinks from conventions, because those stories go deep. Those stories go so deep.
Yeah, if you want to just do a casual thing where you don't have to plug anything, you guys just want to come on, shoot the shit, and tell some good convention stories, we're down. We're so down.
You have never known.
There's Colton like thanking Joe for coming on, John.
That's actually the guy Goose that could beat up. I think it was 7 years old or something like that.
Crazy. Listen,
Or 37-year-olds.
There's got to be a strategy. You've got to send a message with the first one, but we're gonna get into this another time.
Yeah.
That first one has to be put into the ground. That's it. There's got to be a message sent. But let me just end the show with this. Thank you guys so much for having us on, talking Last Ride of Pillar and Pryde. And just like the series, every last page leaves you with a cliffhanger, and I'm going to leave you with this cliffhanger. You have never heard a Scottish man scream until you've come back to a hotel room from a convention drunk, soaking wet in the rain because you were running from police, and then you pee in a trash can. That was amazing. See you next time, loyal viewers.
All right.